Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to PBTV. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube, and something a little bit different to the normal tactical, say M4 or pistol or something that we normally deal with. But today I've brought out a little bit of historic replica. So this is the Mosin Nagant M44 CO2. Very, very cool, very, very accurate. It's got some really, really interesting parts on it. Some parts that you will definitely have to take off before you take it to a skirmish. But if you are wanting to do something a little bit different, this is definitely something to look at. So as always, we'll go from front to back. We'll talk about its features, how it functions, everything like that. This is my first time watching Patrol Base Live. Well, welcome, Harry. If you've got any questions about the Mosin Nagant, drop them down below. We will flash them up on screen and try and get them answered as quickly as possible. So, with this being a historical piece, you will probably guess that there are no threads on the front of it. So it is as it is. There's no Call of Duty modification and changing this into something crazy unless you spend a lot of time doing it. The reason for that as well is, as you can see down the side, there is a big long bayonet folded away that's simply pulling this down and sliding it over. It locks onto the barrel, so if there were threads, they'd get in the way and wouldn't be any use. What we did notice when we got this out of the box, that bayonet is metal. I highly recommend not using that when you go to a skirmish. There is a screw on the top here. Simply taking that out removes it completely. But again, if you're using this for reenactment or a showpiece, definitely absolutely awesome, really, really cool. But definitely do not take it to a skirmish day. You will be quickly ejected and probably not allowed back. And it's purely a safety thing. There's no point having it on there if it's not going to get used. Absolutely lovely. Is she a real feel? Not overly real. I mean, it is heavy, so this thing's just over 3.5 kilos. So you do know about it when you're carrying this thing around. But to sort of add a bit of longevity to it, and obviously if you're going to be outdoors, everything like that, it is polymer, so it is faux wood. So you have the sort of look and feel of wood on it rather than it being else. So, a few other bits on it. You will notice a little gap at the front here and a gap at the back here. That is for the sling. The actual authentic looking sling does come in the box with it. So again, another added feature, really, really cool. So if you're trying to get that stitch perfect look, this is definitely the one for you, having the exact sling that you need in the box. So coming back a bit further, so we do have iron sights on the front and a tangent sight on the back. So what I mean by a tangent sight is it slides very similar to an AK style platform, slides forward and back. So this is to give you a range idea. So sliding it forward gives you 600, 700, 800 meters. You're not going to be firing that with this. It's just a replica of what the real version was like. And you can see some markings on the top of it there. A few other bits as well. It does have the banding on the front that would be holding the real version together. Again, they're just trying to make this as accurate as possible. Metal barrel into a plastic body, meaning that it does add a little bit of weight to it. Can you fit a scope? We don't, on this version, we don't believe you can, because we do have the scope mount as a separate item. And as soon as these came in, I was like, I really want to make something silly, but unfortunately, the scope mount needs a specific body type. So this being the M44, we presume is not the version that could accept a scope. So the scope mount on Mosin Nagant screws into the side, and the one that we've had previously had a plate that you removed, added the scope mount, and then went again. With this one, we believe this is a sort of the original model, so as you see it is as it is. So on this side you would have seen some screw holes or a plate that you could remove and then add a scope mount to. Unfortunately, there's no scope mount, so even if you wanted to use this as a DMR, maybe a sniper or something like that, you are stuck to iron sights. But again, keeping with that historical sort of vibe, it might be what you're after. It could be quite fun, could be quite difficult, but then it makes your hits a little bit more sweet. Coming to the top again, we do have, again, some more markings. They're not engraved or anything. They are lasered on there. Again, it just keeps that budget down a little bit. Speaking of the bayonet, on the right-hand side, the Mosin Nagant has a cutaway for the bayonet to sit flush. So when it is folded away, it is flush to the body. It's not stuck out or anything like that. So again, if you're doing that reenactment thing, it's just quite a neat little addition that they've done in there. The trademark of the Mosin Nagant, the bolt, the sort of side straight out pull with it coming over and back. As you can see, this has no spring in it or anything like that because this is a CO2 platform. If you were to be target practicing or using this for skirmish, all you have to do is roll it up and roll it back and it will fire because there's no spring, there's no piston, there's nothing to sort of recock. All you have to set is the trigger and that's all it has to do. So you can actually get rounds out of this quite quickly. Coming to the mag at the bottom, it is an awkward looking mag, but it is actually very, very cool in its design. So this is the mag, you can see the great hole in there. That is where the 12 gram CO2 bulb goes in, and you can see there's an Allen key at the back here. This silver square, if you push this out, you actually have an Allen key in the mag, meaning it's very, very easy, not having to get extra tools or anything. You keep the tool in the mag, which means it's nice and safe in the platform, ready to go. Once it's all tightened up, it is a non-blowback style magazine, so anyone who's used a non-blowback pistol before, it's very similar to that. So once it is in, it clicks in place, and again, simply rocking the handle up and down, locks, primes the trigger, and you are good to go. So yes, you can rack it back if you're doing a little bit of action or anything like that and want to be really, really cool. But again, you not necessarily have to. Once it's back, the hammer sits back, and then the hammer comes forward, and you're good to go. Is a really, really satisfying platform to fire. That sort of click when it's dry is a little bit scary. I think it's going to be terrifying in-game if you ever heard that. Dropping to a sidearm might be essential. A couple of other things. So there is a trigger lock safety on here, and as I've said, we do have a polymer stock. So out the box, these are sitting around 330 FPS. We've not been able to ID if it's a tight bore or not yet, so if you were wanting to bump that up and maybe go as a DMR or sniper, the way to do it is with a barrel. So it does have a 500mm barrel in there. So if you were to take it down to a tight bore or something like that, it will bump your FPS a little bit, meaning that you'll be able to use this as the sort of platform intents. With the magazine, it is easy to get spare ones. We do have other ones available, and it is a 17 round magazine. So again, this is going to be a lot of fun to sort of run around with and have some sort of very interesting games with. I don't know if you're going to be quite aggressive with it, sit hanging waiting, or lying and waiting for that perfect shot. But again, 17 rounds is pretty decent for a sniper, and you can get spare ones, but obviously be aware you will have to prime each one with CO2 before you run with it. Couple of extra details we have at the front here. We do have the mock cleaning rod. This thing is screwed in and fixed in place and part of the barrel system, which means you're not going to lose it. I know a lot of AK users might have them fall out and be a bit annoyed. What's the range like of this? Would be good for long range. Unfortunately, range is something we can never really give an accurate answer to because it depends on far too many things. Obviously, this does have a fixed hop, so once you do find that BB weight that works really, really well, you're pretty much stuck with it. But again, it changes with if the bulb's full, if you've been running it for a little bit, everything. It is virtually impossible to give an accurate range gauge of any platform, to be honest. All we can say is it will be probably quite accurate. It will be consistent with that 500mm barrel, but yeah, I think these are a very sort of niche item, but if this is what you're after, just that is going to be a lot of fun. I do think that if you got these up to a decent DMR or a little bit beyond and run sniper, the range and accuracy is going to be absolutely awesome, so it will be a lot of fun. So I'll cover a few bits again. The one thing I will have to stress many, many times is it does come with the bayonet fitted. Again, this is a metal bayonet, so no airsoft sight is ever going to let you run with this attached to your weapon. So again, if you're running cosplay, reenactment, anything like that, it's going to be totally fine. For photos, it's going to be totally fine. You simply pull the collar back, spin it round, and lock it onto the barrel. And again, folding it away, dead simple. It's not sharp or anything. It is just a solid bit of metal. If you're ever going to take this to skirmish, there is a screw at the top there. Simply remove that, take the spring and the bolt out. This will come away, keep it in your box. The actual mount for it here will stay on, and you can't take that away from the barrel. But again, it's not quite as dangerous as having a full bayonet whilst running around an airsoft site. So please do the sensible thing and remove it if you are going to an airsoft site with it. So as I said, we do have a pin sight at the front and a tangent sight at the back, giving you a little bit of range adjustment. Again, it's iron sights, so they're not going to be overly useful in airsoft, but again, it just allows you to live in that moment and have that bit of reenactment. Some really cool markings on the top, trying to keep this as accurate as possible. This is the M44, so I think they call it the World War II Overlord variant. So if you're into that kind of era stuff, you will probably know a hell of a lot more than me. As I've said earlier, it is a polymer body, so this is faux wood, so it is going to be a much more fitting for outdoor use and everything like that. So it can get wet, you can clean it, the wood's not going to rot away or get cracked or damaged or anything like that. Very, very simple to load. Once you've got your magazine, 17 rounds in there, CO2, lock that away, and simply racking up, pulling back, pushing forward to get the full feel. If you are trying to be quite quick with it, with the hammer forward, simply raise the bolt, push it back down, and you are good to go because it drops the hammer back. And because it's a non-blowback style magazine, you're not having to rack a piston, rack a spring. You're not even having to load another BB into the chamber because they're already in the mag, meaning it can be fired very, very quickly for what is essentially a bolt action. Got metal butt pad at the back, just keeping it a little bit as the original. They're just trying to keep it as close to that one-to-one as they can, including, as I showed earlier, we do have the legit sling system. So you do have a sling hole at the front and the back, and again, all the loops and all the belts and everything like that. This is probably what it looked like when it was first getting out of the stores when these were real, but normally when you find a surplus one of these now, they are very blackened, very aged, and definitely not looking as fresh as these. But yes, any final questions on the Mosin Nagant, please drop them down below and we will see what we can do. Is the stock plastic? Is it lightweight? So that's Paul Eastwood. So quick answers, yes and then no. So yes, it is a polymer stock. All of the body is polymer, but apart from that, everything on this thing is metal, and you definitely know about it. So the bayonet's metal, the barrel's metal, the bolt system's metal, the sight's metal, the mag's metal, the trigger guards, all the accessories and everything that are metal, which means this thing comes in at over 3.5 kilos. So I think it's about 3.6 kilos, this thing, and most of it is around here. So even holding it like this, I can start feeling it in my arms. So it's definitely going to be a workout using it, but I do think that it's going to be exceptionally satisfying to use. Just doing that has been fun in the office all day. So if this is something you're after, I think it's very, very cool. Having the bayonet on the front is an added feature, but again, please, please, please do not take it to a skirmish with the bayonet on. I'll keep saying it, but someone will do it one day. But just be safe with it. For photos, reenactment, this is probably one of the best Nagants I think I've had my hands on. Unfortunately, you can't fit the optic to it, which would make it perfect, but I do think that is down to the model that it is. I believe there must have been multiple models, and the one that we had previously was a different sort of life part of the Mosin Nagant, and it had bolt holes in the side to allow you to fit the scope rings. Unfortunately, this doesn't, so you are going to be stuck with iron sights. So yeah, so the Mosin Nagant M44 Overlord variant, World War II. This is coined as, but really like it. It is heavy, but it looks like it's going to be exceptional fun. Very, very satisfying to use, very, very satisfying just to fire. So if this is something you're after, you can grab it now, and spare mags as well. 17